He's keeping the government closed. He's not bringing them back so that they can't even.
This is in the Senate. He doesn't have anything to do with the House, Jessica.
Well, but you need the House to vote on
after
opening
the
government.
Senate goes.
Yeah,
Jessica.
I understand.
You guys in the Senate are not voting to open the government. Isn't that right, Kayla?
Well, we don't
Do I
need
have
to.
that correct?
They're not making a compromise with us, John. You don't have the numbers, then get 60
you
senators.
You don't have the issue.
What? We do. Healthcare actually. The voters actually trust us on it. They're wondering where your concepts of a plan are taking them.
If they trusted you would have won the White House. But you don't have any power in Washington.
Trump is minus 36 on health care.
And you're minus 897 on everything.
Oh, that sounds official.
That is Jessica Tarlov doing double duty as both a Fox News host and a second grade substitute teacher who's currently getting heckled by her intoxicated students. And it's sad to see because the lesson really isn't that complicated. See, the Affordable Care Act, well, definitely not without many, many problems, is still relied upon by millions of people for their health care. In fact, as it stands, 4 out of 5 Americans, almost about 78%, including a majority of Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and MAGA voters, all want to see these ACA tax credits extended and soon, because when they go to choose a new plan next week, they're going to log on and find that their premiums have skyrocketed. What do I mean by skyrocketed? Maybe to the tune of like 114%. And it is estimated that if these tax credits aren't extended over the next few years, then about 4 million people will lose health insurance. Okay, so that's kind of, it's not that it's a problem basically for them. Okay, now when it comes to the Republican Party, everybody knows that your level of corruption is directly proportional to your level of success. I don't know why I brought that up. Here is Rick Scott here to save the country.
We can fix this, but the fix is fixing Obamacare. The Democrats don't want to fix Obamacare. I want to fix Obamacare. I built the largest hospital company in the country.
As someone who was born and raised in the great and totally normal state of Florida, I am legally obligated to tell you that Rick Scott did oversee the largest Medicare fraud in U.S. history, and he was fined $1.7 billion, which I'm sure he's paid back right now. And he wants to be the one to fix Obamacare. Maybe we don't. I don't know. I don't know what exactly, resume they're looking for, but I feel like that would be sort of maybe like a disqualifier, but who knows? I mean, what are we going to do? Hire a con man to be the president, or hire a guy who had worms for brains, who thinks vaccines cause autism, to be in charge of our health? You know what I mean? Now, the only hiccup here is that, as you can see, according to this graph, Republicans actually make up the largest percentage of Obamacare recipients. So the numbers are not on the Republicans' side here. And since they're doing what they tend to do, which is just hurt their own constituents, there's really only one talking point they have left, which is to just say that anything anybody else says is a talking point. What are we doing?
There's an estimate that millions of Americans could lose their insurance if something isn't done about these premiums, right? So there's that issue. Go ahead.
I think that's just a Democrat, talking point to promote fear and to push people. There's going to be changes.
I'll cite the source. It's the think tank, the Urban Institute. Right. I just want to cite the source so our viewers know. It's the think tank, the Urban Institute. It estimated that about 4 million Americans would become uninsured after 2025 without the federal subsidies. And that includes 88,000 people from your state of Indiana. You also have Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene sounding the alarm about this.
Yeah, your math is woke. Your math is the numbers are they're too overeducated. Your math, it's a woke math. Also, should we do like a wellness check on Representative Sulkman over there? My goodness. Like, has anybody checked on him recently? That dude looks like he got divorced last night. I'm sure he didn't. He has that like divorced dad filter on the camera or something. I don't know. Are you doing okay, Representative Stuntman? You good? It's like he looks depressed. It's almost like kicking millions of people off of healthcare just doesn't give them the thrill that it used to, Anyway, here's CNN to break down more of this woke talking point math.
Imagine an older couple out there who's making $85,000 a year. That's not billionaires or anything like that, but that's a higher earner in this case. Here's their current premium, $7,225 per year. That's 8.5% of their income. That's sort of the top end under the current rules. Under the change, if it expires, that will jump to $25,000 per year. That's almost a 30% increase. That's almost 30% of their income, not an income, 30% of their income for the year. That's a tough thing if you're making $85,000 a year.
Almost a third of your income going to health insurance in the wealthiest nation in the history of the known universe. Yeah, CNN. Yeah, I think you're right. That does sound like a tough one. If only there was a better option, if only we had some sort of like a quasi kind of pilot program that had already been in place for decades and was generally well liked, and we could slowly extend it over the years until it eventually covered every American. We could call it like medical care for all, or I don't know, something slightly, maybe just a little bit catchier. But no, it's probably better to make sure we keep in place the largest medical cut in U.S. history that has ever taken place. Wait, is that correct, Grant Stern? The largest medical cut is what we're trying to say? We're trying to say the largest cut to health. Okay. All right. Okay.
But Donald Trump enacted the largest ever cut to American healthcare spending in our country's history, $1 trillion. And people are getting the bills in their mailboxes today. You don't need me to tell you that your insurance premiums are going up. And I don't need me to tell me either, because I got the bill. I saw the bill this week. And if you're in the ages of 60 to 65, what they call the donut hole, well, just hang on. I mean, I'm seeing 80 to 100% increases for people that are anecdotally telling me what's happening with their insurance policy premiums for next year.
Oh, okay. Democrats are fighting for our health care. Yeah, I think so. Grant, pretty sure they're trying to give health care to all the undocumented immigrants. Man, that one really didn't stick, did it? Remember they were doing that like a couple of weeks ago? I haven't heard that. They really shut up with that one. But anyway, yeah, no, I get it. So one side is fighting for healthcare, and the other side, the Republicans, they're all about fiscal responsibility. You know what I mean? Like, we can pull at all these heartstrings and talk about all the millions of people that might lose their healthcare or all of a sudden be financially strapped because they're paying for something that they didn't have to pay for previously. But really, that's just playing into emotions. And Republicans, they're all about logic, and they're all about fiscal responsibility. This is about money. Okay. This is about money, right? This is about money, right, Senator? This is about money. Money, right, Senator? This is about money, 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 money. Money?
2 points. The first thing is that this is not about money. There is enough money to bail out Argentina with $20 billion. There is enough money to purchase a brand new aircraft for $173 million for the Homeland Security Secretary. There is enough money to renovate the White House ballroom. What there's not enough money for under this Republican government is you. There's not enough money for you. And it is astonishing to me that the party in charge of the government literally won't show up to work during the second longest shutdown in American history.
$20 billion to Argentina so far. I say we go double or nothing on that failing libertarian government. Let's throw $40 billion at Argentina. I'll do $75 billion for ICE. How about $250 million to tear down part of the White House and build a Scrooge McDuck banquet hall? Heck, let's do $1 trillion to the military industrial complex. We just can't find the money. And what's that? The president of the United States is currently seeking $230 million from the Justice Department. But who funds the Justice Department? Oh, the American taxpayer does. That's great. So he wants us to give him money, just like he asked his supporters for money for his legal defense already. So it's sort of like he's fleecing the American people constantly, even though he did say he would give that money to charity, just like his charities said he would give money to charity before he was found guilty of fraud. And full circle, we got fraud, corruption, lying, all equaling power. The only difference here is that right now, it's not just partially the Republicans who are the ones that are going to be paying the price for this. It's primarily the Republicans. Freud called this the death drive, or thanatos, and it is juxtaposed with eros, which is the life principle. Okay. Normally, these drives manifest in indirect ways, but not in this case. In this case, it's a little on the nose, even for Freud, who was no stranger to having things on his nose. It snowed a lot in Vienna. But, that's beside the point. The question here is, will any of this actually make a difference in the minds and hearts of Trump supporters, even as they're watching potentially their healthcare costs absolutely skyrocket? I'm going to go with I doubt it because of death drive, but who knows? Because in reality, on one side of the aisle, you have a political party that is seeming to fight at least a little bit for people's health care. And then on the other side of the aisle, you have constituents who would rather die or go into crippling medical debt just to keep from having to admit that they've actually been conned. Does this mean that we should go around making fun of them? Of course not, but I probably will. And that's because of a person, Freud's nephew, who was named Sheldon. Sheldon Freud. That was a long walk, but I have to walk because it keeps me healthy and I can't afford to go to the doctor. See you next week, everybody.